This one is going to be 10 feet long. I may have to do it in more than one piece. It might be easier. Yeah, I think rather than do it more than one piece, it's so long, the post-it thing, and everything's so damp, it isn't really going to work very well. So I'm going to do it with the other method, where you swing a compass and you make a note of where you're swinging from, keep the same radius, and then I can transfer it from marks on this batten. In theory, roughly the center of each rib, and roughly center in between. Now I realize these aren't these aren't real dividers. I had to put some tape on it because they have a tendency to close up. As long as it doesn't open up, I need to maintain this radius. This is the only measurement that matters. And in fact, I'm going to check it, see what it is. All I got to do is swing from here. So when I swing this again from here, no, I need a second point for each one. Yes. Yeah, for the end, I don't need a second line because I know what my length is going to be. I just need to come back. Don't remember. Yeah, just have to square it up as best I can before I cut. And of course, cut it back just a tiny, tiny bit to give me a good seam. Now hold on, no, because if I just swing 3 from here, it's going to be wrong. All right, I think I remember it right now. Here, if I only need to swing the 2 arcs on the marks for each point. I'm going to go from either side of the frame. I think that'll be easiest. No. Okay, that method isn't going to work. It's too complicated, too time consuming. My compass is a toy, basically, so I didn't think I could at first, but looking at this again, I think with a short ticking stick or joggle stick, whatever you want to call it, I can make this happen quickly and accurately. So first I got to cut it out. And there's no specific shape for this. All you need is a very pointy end, and then at least 2 marks or notches, or I'm doing corners that are not symmetrical. That's all you really need. And that's it. I could make it fancy. I could make it out of hardwood and drill a hole in the end and put a spliced eye on it with a loop so I can hang it on the wall or whatever, but I'm just going to use it this one time. I am going to sand it a little bit though. Now these corners become a real snap. Just like that. And I think you can see where this is going if you're unfamiliar. All I have to do is lay this down on the pattern, lay the stick in the outline, and it will plot that corner automatically, more or less. I think I need to put a notch in it. Yeah, I'm going to put a notch back here. Yeah, that's better. Let's try that again. That'll give me a second mark back here, so I can make sure the angle is right. And of course, I've already drawn a line there. Just gotta make the outline heavier. Okay, and then wherever I want, I'm gonna try center of the ribs, more or less where I made my marks. I can go at any angle I please. Yeah, this is much less fussy than swinging a compass or even the post-it notes. If I was in a nice, warm, dry shop, it'd be different maybe. And if I had good dividers. All right, guys, keep it down, all right? Jeez. Finish marking out. And again, because I don't need to find specific points, I just need to make sure I'm following the general shape and dimension of this thing. I could lay the stick anywhere. I made it a little easier on myself by adding an arrow so I know where the pointy end is pointed. Another trick might be to use two different color pencils or Sharpies, so one is for up and one is for down or whatever. Other than Post-its, I could have, there's another method where you take little bits of plywood and you hot glue them on here, so that way you don't need the second step of making another pattern. You can just lay that becomes your pattern. You can lay it on your stock, but I prefer this because I want to make a pattern out of something expendable first and then kind of fine tune it. If I were building a new boat, it'd be a different story probably. You're recording, we don't know. I can do a quick check though. Like if that's there, and then that one's there, I know it'll fit, but I want to center it up a little bit more. All right. Yeah, I ran into a little problem here. The point actually falls outside of my stock, so what I've done is I'm going to highlight the joggle stick shape so then I'll know when I lay this on the actual stock. I can lay the stick on there to put that point. I could just call out a measurement, but from where, you know? Things aren't 100% square here. Oh, okay, that didn't record at all. Here we are. This will be the end cut. Wherever I have the full outline of the stick, that means I have to lay the stick on the stock to plot the actual point. For fitting purposes, I'm going to put some tape on the edge or something, or just throw the stick in there against the boat to see where I'm at. This appears to be a mistake. That doesn't line up. We'll ignore that for now. I'm just going to cut along this line. But you get the idea. I had to snap a chalk line temporarily to see how much of a smile I've got on this thing, so I know exactly how wide to rip my piece. Do I really have to go get chalk? Kind of do. It looks like there's a bit of a swoop and a taper at the aft end, which makes sense. The bottom edge is almost a straight line. I think what I gotta do is cut this pattern out and fit it. I don't think I'm gonna get into ripping it and planing this lumber today. It's getting late. It's supposed to start raining early this evening and rain all day tomorrow. So, but let's try to plot a line between these points somehow. and cut it out. For the long cuts, I don't trust the battery on that thing. I think I'm gonna try to do it with the jigsaw. Should be straight enough. It's just a pattern anyway. So that's a good starting point, I think. The question now is, how do I present this floppy thing to the boat without it just falling apart? I could do it in pieces, but I'd love to try to just get it on there in one piece. Yeah, I've driven some temporary nails along the top edge of the next piece down. Actually, I should angle them a little better. Not to fit it, but just to support it while I lay it in. And I'm gonna nail it back on, but I should probably make sure I reuse these holes. So I'm gonna try to plot holes from the pre-pattern pattern onto the pattern. Nope, that ain't gonna work. Oh well, it's a nice start. About an 8. Oh, there's a movement to it. Yeah. Work, sort of. Nothing went awry there. Oh, it's twist it. It's bigger. Interesting. Yeah, my chicken stick method isn't. Well, I see that's a little oversized. Yeah, I gotta look closer to that line. It's too big. Describe this. So this can work, I think. Definitely made a little more work for myself, but I think this is manageable. I'm just gonna have to make some little marks like that. It should be a touch wider there. I don't know if I'll use the taking stick. If I do, I think I might use a pencil because the Sharpie is a little too coarse. Yeah, wherever there's voids, I've made some realignment marks, so I don't really have to tape them together again. I can just lay them out on the stock and stuff like that. It's not too crazy a piece. Will it have to be steamed? I don't know, because here it definitely takes a deep turn. I think when I do try to bolt it in place, I'm going to start at this end rather than try to tweak that last 2 feet. We shall see. All right, let me get these correction marks on here, take it all down so it doesn't get ruined in the rain, and put everything away and all that good stuff. Well, the rain's going to hold off for a bit, but it's going to get dark very soon. So I've already looked this board over. I've figured out where I'm going to cut from for my first and I hope last long piece, but I have enough to do 2 of them and enough left over to redo that one that I screwed up. So I think we got good grain. I'm going to mark it out from the pattern, and then I have to go get more chalk, and tomorrow, well, not tomorrow, the first dry day, we're going to snap a line, and rip this bad boy down and surface plane it and all that good stuff. Okay, belay what I just said. There's no point in marking it out till after I surface plane. Mostly going to take it off one side, but I'm going to have to hit both sides. It feeds through a lot better when it's been hit on one side. Good morning. Getting off to a late start, but it's okay. It's been raining on and off all night, and it's going to get worse later today. Heavy rain, very strong winds. I got to go down to the ground and secure a few things to make sure stuff doesn't blow around. I got to tweak the tarp, try to get it more around the top of the rudder, because you can see the water's been traveling, getting in and traveling down the cap rail. By the end of today, I will have demolished pretty much most of this. I'm going to stop trying to remove teak, and I'm just going to rip through it. So the boat will be wide open. So I got to make sure this tarp is a little more secure. I might even pad the corners of the gallows just so it doesn't chafe through. Although a similar tarp made it through all last winter without any problems on there. There were no signs of chafing, but you never know. Tomorrow's supposed to be better. I'm going to jump back into planking mode tomorrow and try to at least get my pieces, the final cuts on my pieces, and offer them up to the boat. I don't have the fasteners yet. That's going to happen over the weekend. I got to go home tomorrow night. The fasteners should arrive Friday. Then I've got pretty nice weather early next week and no work yet, so I'm going to come back down and plank her up and maybe get some primer on her. Pretty exciting. All right, that's better for now. We'll see when it starts raining exactly what needs to be done. I don't want to have to reposition the whole tarp to get it back around the rudder. It doesn't quite reach right now. Anyway, new game plan here. That quarter round teak is coming off today. Whether or not it'll come off in one piece remains to be seen. I might make something new to replace it anyway. In fact, I've got kind of a strange idea, but if it works, it could be very good. These are a little too small. They only use I think it's a 1-inch inside diameter hose. It's a little too easy for them to get clogged up. And I can't really get this off. I don't know if this pries off. I don't like how it's trapped and buried under here. I understand why they did that. They did it because this is the lowest part of the aft deck. They wanted to get the drain down in the lowest part. Logical. But to put a bigger one in, I need to come inboard a little bit. But then that means water could pool up, behind it in this corner. What I want to do is something roughly the dimensions of this piece. Maybe not with that radius, maybe with a straight line. Some kind of hardwood, probably black locust. I'm dreaming of finding a good deal on some black locust to do all this. The drain, a bigger drain, let's say a 2-inch drain, will be right here. And that piece will angle up. I'll have to cut into these, and it'll all kind of blend in. I might even replace this with a bigger piece that has not a radius on it, but has like a 45 slope to it. Might even do that here eventually too, because it's all, I don't know. This is pretty weather tight right now, this repaired bulkhead. I haven't seen any problems here, but of course we found new rot. Is that soft again? No, I think that's finally happy. Anyway, that's something that's going to happen. So yeah, first the quarter round. Yeah, the quarter round. I'm not going to try to save these covering boards. The new planking layout is not going to take advantage of this. Use this kind of zigzag seam. I'm just going to let the end grain die under here. So whatever I put back on will protect the end grain of the decking. I think the main reason it's done this way is, I don't know why they do it this way, except that it looks lovely, but it's done. Its time on this earth is over. I'm tired of messing around here. No more half measures, right? Gotta get her done. This is wet. Nah, that's old wet. Let's get to it. Okay, I got all the screws out except this guy. I may have to drill it out, but I'm hoping when I pry the rest of it, it'll kind of come free. Maybe not. Anyway, this filler piece, I don't know if the other side is one continuous. It happens. Sometimes you come up short or whatever. They did the smart thing and they hid it way up here where it would normally be under this grate. But it's kind of interesting what's going on here. Really no Sikaflex or whatever they used is still stuck to the teak at all. In fact, this came out when I backed the second screw out. It was hung up on the teak and it just kind of pulled itself right off. I hope the rest of it's that easy, but interesting, these voids. Okay. No, it doesn't quite go all the way through. Not that it matters much up here. This is the highest point of the aft deck. Just kind of neat. Just thought I'd show you what we got going on under here. Let me get back to it. Pretty much free, except for the flow end of it. Cast here. There we go. At this point, before I pull the trim off the other side, I'm going to work my way around. I'm going to remove everything. I'm going to remove this. I'm going to remove the flange for the cowl venter. I'm going to remove this manhole cover thing. Get everything off the deck first. I might even get rid of the compass binnacle. I got to look below and see how that's attached. I think it's just screwed from below. I also got to literally clear the deck here, get these tools better organized, move this guy somewhere. Now that it's pouring rain, I can't really just put everything out forward on the deck. All the teak I've torn up, I don't want to just throw it down to the ground. It's going to get tricky. It's going to get a little crowded in here. But first I'm going to remove hardware and probably, actually I'm going to wait till I get the deck up. It'll be easier to disconnect. Free up the cables and all that jazz. If I can just be standing in there, it's going to be weird. Ooh, am I glad I rigged this thing. It is really coming down. The wind is south, but when it veers west, it's going to, later today, it's going to start blowing in here. At which point, well, I'll probably have stopped by then anyway. The deck is not draining. What's going on? It's all coming back here. Yeah, it looks like the little scupper pipe is working, but it's kind of being overwhelmed. If I get a break in this downpour, I'm going to run out there and poke a stick through it. I may have to add more of those or something. This is not great. I don't know. It's only a problem when the boat really is static, such as it is on the hard. Yeah, I thought there was a retaining ring below this with threaded holes, but it feels like, I think there's nuts, and this one is there. The others got sucked up into the wood. This one's free and it's kind of spinning. Gotta try to get some on it. Oh, there's a beam here, huh? Favorite nut. The other nuts, probably when I cut the ply out, I'll be able to pick them out of there or something. I might put washers on them for the next go, although there really isn't room for a washer here. Oh no, below there is actually, because this flange only goes so deep. Oh my goodness, you gotta be kidding me. Pull up on it while I turn it. Finalmente. That's a nice hunk of bronze. I am going to put this back on here for safekeeping, and then as all the hardware is freed up, I'm going to put all the hardware on this flange. So this whole unit can just be laid aside. I know where it is. I don't know where I'm going to stow all this junk. I'll figure something out. I don't really want to bring it home. I've already got too much boat stuff. My living room is full of boat stuff. So, even though I'd pretty much made up my mind about whether or not to do this with covering boards or without, a couple hours ago I did a little more reading up on it. And apparently the rule of thumb is that you put in these nibs. You need a covering board to create these nibbed ends wherever the cut of the plank would be, the point would be less than 20 degrees or less. This angle is far more acute than where it would meet here. If I ran my planks up under the bulwark to meet a curve a couple inches outboard of this. Now imagine this, not, the covering board's not here. This plank runs all the way outboard. It comes to about here. Now I don't have a protractor handy to tell me how many degrees that is, but that's a lot more than 20. 20 would be like, so. Assuming that rule has to do with, I don't know, preventing splitting, I don't think it's going to be a problem. As far as the ends go, the end grain, they go, it's impossible for me to even go below and show you yet until I remove more stuff, but these run under the bulwark planks, and then they hit a, not the beam shelf, I guess it's a shear clamp, basically. There's another timber that they butt into. Or that, well, this does. They would butt into it. All I have to do, I think, is bed that properly, and it shouldn't be an issue with like water getting into the end grain. I could also prime or even epoxy the ends of these planks. As far as the cockpit goes, I will need a covering board. I can't just run the ends of the planks off into here. They have to be protected with something. So I think I'm going to try to remove these covering boards intact to use as patterns, because this pattern is pretty cool. Because of this angle, if I will need a covering board, because I can't, let's say I use a straight piece of something, you know, to create this edge. If I run right into that, let's say, yeah, from here, if I were to go and meet this angle, that's getting more like 20 degrees. That's kind of pushing it a little bit. You'd have these very, very pointy pieces. And if they started to, you couldn't put a fastener right there, so it could start to warp up, and then you catch yourself on it or whatever, or something catches on it, next thing you know, it breaks off. So the nibs make a lot of sense on the inside, but I don't think I need to do it out here. I also don't think I'm going to continue cutting this. It's already like 4 o'clock. I just ate. I'm feeling a little lethargic. I feel like calling it a short but pretty productive day. Although I'm going to go below real quick and look again. I looked under there. There seems to be only 2 small screws holding that in place, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I don't see any plugs on the top. The things I had taped are the holes for where the compass itself screwed onto this wooden binnacle. Yeah, I'm gonna, if they are screws, I'm gonna take them out and see if I can get this bad boy loose.